G'day, HMR here. If you value this content, find it helpful, and you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit all, and yeah, it's free, and it would help this channel in the algorithm. Well, in this video, I have a response to a real pistol, if you get my drift, yeah, somebody who's really angry, positive about what they're saying. I'm so wrong, as usual. When somebody is denying their own codependency and saying that they're all healthy, and how dare I say, in fact, it's ludicrous that I say that all people who are in relationships with BPD, or primarily pretty much if it lasts more than like a hot minute, have codependency. So anyways, here's this person's comment. Wow. They left it on the, I was going to say the movie. I don't make movies. On the video I did. Borderline betrayal. Its insidious impact on you. If you haven't seen it, one, you should check it out, because it is. They do have insidious impact on you, but everything in the dynamics between, sorry commenter, yep, a codependent, even like you, who's in denial because you think you're so healthy. Okay. Yep, gotcha, but you're kind of rude, and you are telling me what to do. And who in the world are you to do that, Buster? I'm an expert with 36 years experience, but oh, you'd be more correct than I. Well, in your head, I'm sure, but that's not my problem, that's yours. So he starts off, listen. Now, come on. That's a tone all to itself, isn't it? Listen, you. Really cute guy. Cute beginning. Listen, capital letters, everyone. So this guy is telling you he's way more expert than I am in his head. You can believe what you want, so can the dude. Listen, everyone has had something, puts it in quotes, traumatic, more denial, maybe, never know, happen to themselves in childhood. That's not true. Not everybody's had trauma in childhood. Codependency isn't just doesn't just come about as a defense against, quote, like you said, trauma, unquote. Codependency can just be from adverse experience. So anyway, if you think a little bit or a lot like this dude, please listen. Please consider what I'm saying. Hey, if you don't believe me or you don't agree with me, well, no harm, no foul, because I can't control you. This guy comes across like he thinks he can control me. That's even funnier. I'm just saying. I've been at this 36 years, dude. You have an interesting channel, by the way. I've pretty much nothing on it, but anyway. I wonder what this dude really thinks love is. So, listen, everyone, capital letters, has had something, quote, traumatic, unquote, happen to themselves in childhood. However, to suggest that virtually, again, everyone is capitalized. So dude is not only disagreeing with me and thinking they know more than I do, which is their problem, not mine, but they're actually, quote, yelling at me, vis-a-vis caps. You know what I'm saying? So, however, to suggest that virtually everyone is a, quote, codependent, unquote, that's been harmed by their, just like those singular, not quotes, but singular, whatever they call them, by their, hapaquote, BPD, hapaquote, partner, and hapaquote. Partner is ludicrous with 2 exclamation marks. I know who you think you are, man, but you're funny. Your ego is on fire, and you're going to need help with that. But hey, you don't have to get it if you don't want to. You're in massive denial, which doesn't bother me at all, just saying. It's completely, again, another capitalized word, normal. Oh, love that for you. Love that. It's completely normal for a healthy individual to be confused by the actions of their, again, it's like, whatever that's called, I'm just saying, let's just say, quote, BPD, unquote, partner, bracket, especially if they've never experienced that before. Okay, let's stop there for a second for me to just be able to say one thing that's logical, because this dude is just rude, argumentative, telling me essentially he's righter than I am, and I don't care about that part, but it's kind of funny to me anyway. And then he goes on here to say, yeah, if they've never had that before. While hoping, are you ready for this, ladies and gentlemen? Because herein lies my whole argument. Hoping they can, quote, fix, unquote, what may have damaged their relationship. That's what loving people do. No. That's what codependent people do, bub. Like you. But you're in massive denial. And I should take a step back also to say to you, false equivalency, red herring, when you capitalize but use the word normal. Define normal for me, I dare you. It's not a germane word. It's a false equivalency, flawed ideology, and your denial pops right out in, well, if they've never experienced that before, but they don't all have to be traumatized. Not everybody's a codependent. What's the matter with me? Says dude. And then he continues, well, hoping they can, quote, fix what may have damaged their relationship. That's what loving people do. No, it's not. It's what codependents do, primarily people with BPD or NPD that have been the partners. Because otherwise, it would be two people working to build compatibility, address communication errors, communication difficulties, all kinds of things like that. But it wouldn't be about what you said here, dude, quote, fix, unquote, Mr. Codependent. And then he continues, because he's so healthy, and he's so sure he's so healthy, but he thinks it's normal and healthy for everybody to just, you've all had trauma apparently, like every human being in the world has had traumatic childhood, he says. So he's bearing a lot probably in his own life, his business. Well, they can, quote, fix the relationship. Codependent in denial. He continues, healthy individuals, operative word is, quote, healthy, in brackets. Hey, dude, you might think so, but I'm not stupid. And I wasn't born yesterday. You're offensive. I don't really care, because you are the one who's going to suffer. You're the one who's in denial. You're a codependent. You have codependency. So the healthy individual, operative word, healthy, in case I didn't get it or something, should not, capitalize the not, be blamed. I'm not blaming people with codependency, but I will be calling out their responsibility in the relationship dynamic so that people can get into therapy and do the work and take responsibility for what was their choices. Because guess what? It's not all the borderline's fault. You oversimplifies, I think, just with your inferences and what isn't here capitalized, okay? You're very offensive, dude. You are. So healthy individuals shouldn't be blamed. Here we got brackets again, not even partially. Well, you are partially to blame. Every single person with a codependency in a relationship with someone with BPD, you might not have known what it was, you might never have heard of it, but when you find out some things, you're making choices the whole time, okay? But this guy, this codependent denial is going to deny that too. And if you don't know that, and you don't like me saying it, I'm here to keep it real to help people heal, and you're always making choices. Borderlines may do a lot of things to people, traumatize them, etc., but they can't control your entire beingness. You have to be acquiescing your own places where you could make boundaries, places where you could walk, places where you could take care of yourself, places where you could say no. All of those things are choices, and sometimes unconsciously made, because you're walking on eggshells and you're trying to please the other person, which is people-pleasing, along with the fixing, which is codependent in denial. And if you're a codependent in denial, I think this guy's beyond help, especially from me. But please listen to this and please seriously think about it, because you're not going to heal. And I have clients that come along that, they're 5-10 years, had no contact with a borderline, out of the relationship, might think they're doing fine, but they're not. They can't forget the person, and they're still sometimes ruminating, and, well, I wonder what this dude's doing. But anyway, I don't really want to know. So then he says, should not, and by the way, should is a thought distortion, so thanks for sharing. Should not, capitalize, be blamed, and brackets, not even partially, and bracket. You're very anal, dude, I can tell. For being, are you ready for this? Capital loving and capital caring people. Yeah, too loving, toxic amount of love, too much empathy, too much compassion when you're being hurt or abused by someone with BPD, and too caring about them, but not yourself. And then it's capitalized not. Boy, somebody's desperate to get the point across as if it's going to stand on this channel. What a joke. It's not their fault. The BPD individual duped them by capital letters pretending to be normal. Dude, I hope other people can recognize the error of this guy's ways, because to say it's not their fault, the BPD individual, people with BPD are not trying to dupe you. People with BPD are doing, unfortunately, what comes naturally to them in unconscious repetition compulsion cycles, which I'm not a BPD apologist and I'm not making excuses for, just trying to explain. And I'm really, this is an example of someone that I would like other people to listen to this video to make sure that you're not in the place that this guy is, because it's not a good place to be. It's called codependent denial. And then it's called being rude to a YouTuber for some reason. Must have a strong mother wound, this dude. Yeah, I get a lot of guys like this that address me this way, dressing me down, trying to dress me down. I don't care. Probably just because I'm female. And they're in so much denial. Yeah. That's what you're doing, dude. I hope other people couldn't see it. So it's not their fault. The BPD individual, duped them by pretending, capital letters, to be normal. No, people with BPD are not pretending to be normal. People with BPD are trying to find their way. I've said a lot on this channel. I'm not going to put a lot of that information in this video. Just saying that they are not duping you. You, Mr. Codependent, rude person who thinks you know everything and I know nothing, in your head, in your quote, some kind of silly, you think healthy, quote, reality, unquote, which is really just you denying codependency. How's that working for you? I wonder how that will work out for you. It won't work out for you, but anyways, that's your problem. So, yeah, they're not duping you. You made choices to believe in who you thought they were. And they were trying hard to be who they were trying to be. Because people with BPD don't have a self. They don't have a container of self. They have identity diffusion and all kinds of things like that. But they're not responsible for what you pick up. Ooh, was it hot sex? Because it is for a lot of people. Well, if you're a man and that is something you really enjoy, which most men do, then you made a choice right there. You weren't duped. And you weren't forced. And it is your responsibility. Not how they hurt you or traumatized you, but the choices you made that allowed the relationship to go on, which truly, quote, healthy, unquote, healthy, unquote, people don't do. So you're in denial. Anybody else out there relate to this? I hope not, for your sake. If you do, get into therapy ASAP. So then he says, oh, there's a please here. Oh my goodness, how kind of you. So please, stop! Again, capitalized. That's yelling, on the internet. Stop stigmatizing healthy thinking individuals as being, quote, codependent for wanting what they, capitalized again, this person is a grammar nightmare, thought was, quote, real, unquote, back. You got fantasy bonded like everybody else, Mr. Codependent in Denial. Just give them the necessary you're telling me what to do again. You're something. Just give them the necessary tools to help them identify the type of person they were really capitalized dealing with, capitalized, without accusing them of being, quote, broken, unquote, for selecting the, quote, BPD, unquote, partner in the first place. I don't accuse anybody of anything. I'm here to give information. However you take it, and however much you want to fight back, and however much you want to fight with me, and however much you're denying your own codependency, it's all your own ego's business, okay? You and your ego together, it's your business. It makes no difference to me. I'm just reading your comment out for other people to hear how I respond to it and what I'm saying to you, because you don't know what you're talking about, dude. I only have 36 years of professional experience. And you, I guess you think you're somebody special. Who knows? Who cares? I don't accuse people of being broken. And as you said in the beginning of your comment, that everybody, in capital letters, has had, quote, I don't know what's with you in quotes. You're a grammatical nightmare here, dude, among everything else. That everybody's had trauma in their childhood. So your attitude is, you just get the hell over it. Yeah, if I didn't know better, I think I know who you are. Even though you have a channel that looks nondescript, and of course it could just be whatever. So anyway, so if you had trauma in your childhood, you will not have secure attachment. You will not be healthy. You would be codependent. You're in denial. And anyone else who relates to, I hope you don't relate to this dude's attitude and where he's at and the way he communicates, because that's all, a whole other thing. Dare I say, well, I think it's mother wound on his part, but it can still add up to misogyny. Just saying. I get a lot of these from time to time, and I don't usually deal with most. I just delete them. And after I read this in this video, I'm deleting and blocking this goof. I'm sorry. I can't have empathy for somebody who is outright not just saying, an opinion, but wanting to fight against me and in incredible denial. That's all I can say. And I don't accuse people of being broken. People who get into relationships with people with BPD who want to fix, to quote the commenter, what was happening or what happened in the relationship to try to make it work. And people pleasing, making all your own decisions to stay there for however long you did, to go through whatever you went through for the good and for the probably really not good. And those are your choices and your responsibility, Mr. Codependent in Denial, who's really angry and likes to sort of, I guess, communicate from a top dog position. Well, might have worked with your mommy, but it doesn't matter to me. Just give them the necessary tools to help identify there's like 2,000 videos on this channel. I have a podcast. I think I more than help people identify what's happening with people with BPD. But I also talk about what's happening with people like you. Codependents in denial. Men in particular that do this type of thing to me as a woman. Not taken personally, but I know what it is. And you're trying to tell me what to do and what not to do. Wow. You must be something spectacular in your head. So I hope no one else who sees this is relating to this guy. You might relate to the codependent denial, but not everybody's this angry. Not everybody has to fight to be, quote, writer or, try to, I guess, put me in my place. But I'm in my place doing just fine with 36 years of experience and know what I'm talking about. And what you say, dude, don't bother me in the slightest. It's pretty rude, but, hey, it's your problem. Sadly, they're going to need therapy. And again, after is capitalized. The damage caused by the BPD is still in quotes. Partner anyway, 2 exclamation marks. Why do you think that is, commenter? Just, that's all the borderline's fault too? All of it? Because for the length of time that people stay with these people, that they not fight, but, well, not fight with, but maybe, but want to keep staying with the borderline no matter what happened? You know how many people get discarded, ghosted, or discarded? And then, some people with BPD will hoover back. Many won't, ever. You know how many people have been waiting like 3 to 5 years for a hoover that never came, and they're still going through living hell? But that wouldn't be because they have any issues, right? That would only be what the borderline did to them. I'm sorry, Buster. You're wrong, okay? And this is half of what I spend my time not only helping clients with that helps them heal, but saying it on this channel, to keep it real, to help people heal. If you are a codependent, and this dude certainly is, but if he wants to think that he isn't, well, that'll be his problem, If you're a codependent out there in denial, you can relate to his denial. Maybe you can relate to his whole attitude. Maybe you can relate to, what is this, mansplaining, in the sense of like trying to put me in my place. No man does that. Okay, just saying. I care a lot about what's going on with a lot of men, but this dude's something else. It's probably a troll anyway. And then, so after he says everything he says, but I got to go back to this, because like this, I've never heard this before. He said, capital letters, stop stigmatizing healthy thinking individuals as being codependent for wanting what they, capitalized, thought was, quote, real, unquote, back. That's called still in pursuit in the circles of a codependent fantasy bond. So I guess that's what you're describing. And if you're not there now, you definitely were there. And I do not stigmatize. Oh my God, you sound as whiny and as, what's the word? Well, fragile ego you got there, it sounds like. And so in a way, you sound just like all the borderlines who say I'm stigmatizing borderline personality disorder when I'm telling the truth, when I'm keeping it real to help people heal. And now you're accusing me of stigmatizing healthy people like you think you are. Codependent denier. I've never heard this in 36 years that I'm stigmatizing healthy people. Because only a codependent in denial would say that. Only a man with something hurting him so bad somewhere inside from a mother wound would come at me this way. So that's the way it goes. And that's your business. I don't care. So I'm accusing people of being broken. No, I'm not. Hey, by the way, dude, did I make you come watch something on my channel that triggered you to like all this kind of communication? Because that too would be your responsibility, not mine. And so, everybody needs therapy after this, but not just because of damage caused by the person with BPD. Yes, they cause lots of damage. But codependents, and even ones in denial like you, cause yourselves a lot of damage in your own right. That's separate from what they do. Because you have core responsibility, and if you think you're so healthy, it's laughable. Do you think you're so healthy that's why? And then I guess, as you're saying, everybody and all of that, then you must have needed or still need therapy. I think, my humble opinion, you still need therapy. You're still denying your codependency and making it sound like the fact that everyone, you said, has had something traumatic, in quotes, happen to themselves in childhood. Well, that seems to mean you too then. Bet you haven't healed it. Bet you don't think it's important. Bet you're minimizing it. And what? All to accuse me of, accusing people of being broken. All to accuse me of stigmatizing healthy people. Well, when you become one of those healthy people, Mr. Codependent in Denial, well, then you can make another account and try to send me a message if you like, because I'm blocking you as soon as I'm done with this video. And it starts off with, you can have your opinion. You have your opinions. You can think I'm no good, whatever, that's fine too. But when you start off with me, like, listen, and then you tell me what to do and what not to do, and you accuse me of stigmatizing healthy people, and you talk about normal, you're just using language that has no meaning behind it. So your message is off-putting, distancing, semi-abusive, very sort of egoic male to female, that you're all right and I'm all wrong kind of thing, which, check yourself out, buddy. It's probably coming from a mother wound. And I'll be kind enough not to say that in another way. And the operative word is healthy. Well, I think the operative word in what you said is codependent, in denial. In denial, capital letters, and quotes around it too. So anyway, if you can relate to, I hope not the guy's attitude, because the guy's attitude really needs an adjustment. I'm just saying it's off-putting, it's distancing. Nobody would want a dialogue. I wouldn't want a dialogue with this person, thank you. And I've just ignored all the, stuff they shot at me that's like, you're doing this, you're accusing that, you did. Because in essence, they're here to tell me that I'm just wrong. And they're just right. Because, they would know whereof they speak by putting this kind of conglomerated whatever goopy goop together. Codependent in denial. Are you a codependent in denial? Because if you are, what you all need to know and what you all need to hear, what you all need to work on in therapy, which I work on with all the people that over 31 years online and 36 in total have come to work with me, thousands and thousands and thousands, they're way more than I could ever count now. I work with them to help them to understand what codependency really is. It's not an insult. It's not an accusation. And it's real. And it's a mental health challenge. And it is people with codependency that make up the other half of the dynamic with people with BPD. Except for in the relationships where somebody has narcissistic personality disorder, likely with codependency. And then that's like a bit of a different dynamic, because then you got two people for sure who aren't taking any personal responsibility. But we got this guy here who's not taking any personal responsibility. You don't get duped by borderlines. Women don't get duped by men with BPD, and men with BPD, though you may feel duped, you don't get duped by women with BPD. You're right there wanting what you want. You're right there doing what you want to do. And more often than not, almost always, 98% of the time, 99.5% of the time, people are codependent because it's the codependency. And the woundedness back to childhood, and for this guy, and for a lot of men actually, it can be a father wound too, but it can be a really devastating mother wound that doesn't even have to be an abusive mother to wound a little boy in a way that could affect a man this way, where he can be in so much denial. But ooh, look how hostile he is toward me. I wonder, does he do this to all the YouTubers? Or am I just the one getting gifted, capital letters and in quotes, because I'm a female? I don't know. But, you didn't get up early enough, dude, because if you think this is going to bother me, if you think this is going to change one thing that I do on this channel or my podcast or anything of the sort with the expertise that I have in this area, you're sadly mistaken. And the way you start off with listen, right there, I almost didn't even read the comment. You need to listen, bub. You are in denial. So again, I'll just say, how rude, how top doggish of you, and I don't think a lot of men are like this, but there's some men out there like this, that they won't do this with a male YouTuber, but they'll do it to a female in a heartbeat. So I'm not taking it personally, I'm just pointing that out. There's been many others. There will be many more. And so this is somebody who's in denial. They communicate rather weirdly, don't they? Because every other word is capitalized. Maybe I should just let you see this if you can. I don't know. The light is in the way. But that the text is as I read it. And there's the name of the person who will no longer be able to post on this channel. Because don't approach me that way and think that you're going to endear me to wanting to, like, say something. Well, I am trying to say something helpful to you, mister, which is you're in denial. Your ego is out of control. You probably have a mother wound. You're definitely a codependent in denial. And but you keep screaming that you're healthy and see where you get with that. And hey, so to everyone else, I hope you don't have this attitude. And if you do, well, you might be really hurt. You need to think about that. But if you're denying codependency still, two things about that. One is if you're as egoic as this dude, then you may as well not watch any more of my content. Just go away. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people who can come to understand that even though borderlines do what they do and everything, which is not okay, can be traumatizing, turns people's lives upside down, the codependent that went there, even not knowingly and etc., you've been making choices all along. And a lot of men want to deny that, I find, or some. So if you could hear what I, quote, heard in this presentation, especially the way it was written, and I'm not only starting off with listen, like, dude, you're nobody in the universe that I need to listen to, okay? And you don't have to listen to me either. And then saying that I'm stigmatizing healthy people. Well, you'd have to be a healthy person to know that. Most people watching this channel are not healthy people. And codependency is a formidable mental health challenge that some professionals are now calling what it probably should have been put in the DSM-3 as, when a psychiatrist proposed it, codependent personality disorder. I try not to go that far, but the only reason codependence didn't become codependent personality disorder in DSM-3 in the 1980s, proposed by a psychiatrist, is because in their infinite lack of wisdom, the American Psychiatric Association, with the hegemony of Big Pharma, decided to say, no, we're not going to put in codependency in any category in our big friggin' psychiatric manual because it overlaps too much with borderline personality disorder and dependent personality from cluster C. So, the presentation of this dude makes me wonder, NPD traits, BPD traits, you certainly don't want to own who you really are. You certainly don't want to own the codependency that you really have. And boy, I must have said something. Oh yeah, you listened to the video or part of it. Borderline betrayal, its insidious impact on you. And what about that was me defending borderlines or stigmatizing, quote, healthy people? And if you really got this upset or this macho or whatever this is, egoic, like some males do, and I'm not putting that on all men or many men, then why don't you go over to Quora and read Joseph C., okay? Just Joseph C. on Quora and see what he says about codependence and the whole thing. And then there's Eleanor Greenberg, who is actually like 20 years my senior, fantastic person, wonderful professional, and she says exactly the same things that I say. So there aren't a lot of people like myself and Eleanor Greenberg, PhD, who are as blunt as we are. But anyway, I've gone on too long. This person is absolutely just making no sense, is in denial. It was triggered, and was triggered likely by some mother wound, and has it's not just a male attitude, but for a lot of men it is, because the way you were raised, that the idea still, a lot of people are raising little boys, they shouldn't be raised as like girls, no, but a lot of parents are still, over the generation, have been raising boys like, you don't need to feel, you're tough, you got it, it's okay, kind of thing. And I would be shocked if this guy didn't go through that kind of upbringing. So the point is, too, that it creates, so when boys are wounded in certain ways in childhood, and not everybody's the same. Some people a little more resilient, some people way more traumatized, some people adverse experience, some people really abusive parents, some people not abusive parents, but they still don't get seeing you, hearing you, validating you, helping you regulate your emotions in ways that won't mean that you have to adapt the defenses of codependency to survive your childhood. And then I find that there are men like this one, his presentation anyway. I've had a few clients like this actually. They've yelled and screamed at me because they think they're so dominant just because they're male. Don't fall into that trap, guys. That's what the coaches are telling you out there. You got to be tough. You got to do this. Oh, you're going to do inner child work. Well, just push right through it. Just get that little guy inside you to toughen the hell up. That is really the woundedness of generations of many, many men. And those messages by the all mostly male, I think, coaches, are toxic masculinity messages. So there you go. That's toxic masculinity messages from men to men. And I take great care on this channel to not be that way to men. I give an opposite message. You need to know more who you are. You need to take responsibility for your part in the dynamic of the relationship, not what the borderline did, so that you can get to know you in therapy, so that you can heal, so that you can go back and do the family of origin work and the individuation. And may I just say one last thing about this commenter? I don't know who they are from Adam, though I suspect I might know who they are. If they're using a account, like whatever. I could be wrong about that. But the thing is, this whole presentation screams that they're not healthy, screams that they're not doing well. Oh, because they got duped by a borderline? No, nobody gets duped. You can feel duped, but you've made choices that are your responsibility in your codependency, even when you didn't know what the hell was going on. And if you can't accept that or work toward accepting that, you're going to remain in a lot of pain, which I would suggest that in spite of this guy's off-putting, whatever, like macho, I guess he knows everything and I know nothing kind of like approach, and I'm not even saying that's what, I don't care, but you know what I mean? It's just off-putting because it's distancing, it's not dialoguing, it's arguing, and then he says, I accuse people, I'm stigmatizing, quote, healthy people, which he wouldn't know what that is. And I'm not. So he whines like a borderline in his codependent denial. And then he says, what was the other thing? Accusing people of being broken. That must have been what triggered this man's, unfortunately, unhealthy ego. Don't copy him. I hope you're not in the same space as him. But if you are in codependent denial, whether you're a man or a woman who's been with a borderline male, or a gay male who's been with a gay borderline male, or a lesbian woman who's been with a lesbian woman with BPD, or anything in between. Codependents are the people, if not narcissists, okay, that get into the relationships with these people. Nobody who's actually healthy and has secure attachment will ever be caught in one of these relationships. Maybe for a couple of dates, maybe for a short period of time, but then they know how to walk away because they know who they are. This guy here doesn't really know who he is. He's in denial. And many of you out there may be in denial too. And it's a very, very painful place to be. So I hope this might be helpful. Just, holding up this as a reflection of where it wouldn't be wise or healthy for you to be. And please, guys, stop thinking that the borderline woman duped you. I mean, their idealization creates a fantasy bond in you. And yes, this happens unconsciously. And no, you didn't know it at the time or what BPD was, but the bottom line is you've got to take responsibility that these relationships are not all the borderline. Maybe mostly, maybe that makes it awful, but sometimes it makes it great. But it's also you. You're there. And you have your own unconscious woundedness of people pleasing and, like this guy said, trying to fix. And so he thinks it's really capital loving and capital caring And what any healthy person would do when it isn't. Because a healthy person knows what, first and foremostly. Abuse is not love. If you're abused, if you're cheated on, if you're ghosted, monkey branched, if you're discarded, the door stays shut. There's no reason to turn back. It's the codependency and the woundedness from childhood that brings men to their knees. And then, no offense to most men, guys like this scream, I got duped. It's almost like you're telling me that some borderline woman forced your into her and come on. Really? So please, if you're in denial, I hope this will wake some people up. It's the only reason I'm doing it, because otherwise I'm deleting this from my channel. It's semi-offensive to me, but like it doesn't matter. It's just rude and distancing and not the way to communicate, in my humble opinion, not a way that I accept being communicated to. So I just thought I would respond to it and do this in the hope, keeping it real, to help you heal, that you could gain something out of what this person laid down that I picked up, to try to help you to be able to see something that maybe you can see through somebody else's denial and somebody else's need for control and somebody else's perhaps mother wound, and why I was spoken to the way I was by this man. Because most men are pretty respectful. And even when they've been really hurt, and even if they're not really sure they ever want to deal with another woman again, I get these kind of comments from time to time from some men, but most men, and most men, pretty much like 97% of all men I've ever worked with, are not like this guy. They're not in this place. They're not in such massive egoic denial to where, hey, their woundedness might be a whole lot more than codependency. Anyway, take care of yourselves and know, borderline women are you will feel duped, but it's a fantasy bond within the trauma bond. And often there's a betrayal bond aspect to the trauma bond. But the point is, you were making your own decisions, because no woman, as far as I know, pins down a man and makes him what? Have wonderful, physical interactions that, no, it's not like that. And emotionally, it's not like that either. Because for this guy to say that he feels duped by a borderline, he doesn't even understand what borderline personality disorder is. And as always, take care.